Jeff already on
Yeah.
vacation?
He's sick today.
Oh no!
Yeah.
He's scheduled to go on vacation though, right?
Supposed to leave Friday for Big Sky.
Okay.
Hopefully he's
Get the sickness out before.
right.
Yeah, no hands are cold. Wow. No. All right, yeah. Move the name.
Brady.
Great.
Yeah, just you and me hanging out together up there. I didn't get my high five yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that was terrible. God, that was. Hopefully they're not recording yet. Just redact that high five. And then...
So
What's with the fun music? It's awesome.
okay.
All right. Let's call the meeting to order. We'd like to take a look at the agenda for approval. Any changes?
No changes, Madam President.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve the order of the agenda as presented.
Second.
So moved. We have the consent agenda next. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it. Is there anyone who hasn't or has a disagreement or would like it moved?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Or-
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do roll call there?
Oh, actually, we
Roll call.
should, yeah, because of money.
Oh,
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted, Commissioner Rosted,
I know he was on, I don't know if he sees the chat, but there's a chat, Jerry, if you can look at that.
I think we've learned that a thumbs up on the chat does count, I believe. Okay. Commissioner Hill? Aye. Commissioner Deutsch?
Aye.
And Commissioner Morgan?
aye.
Thank you.
Well, that's approved. Let's move on to the regular agenda. I guess we have a little bit of work to do here. Let's see. All right, do we have guests here today? No. Okay. No guests that want to speak.
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so recognition of public audience comments. We have none, so we'll go on to number 2, the executive director's report.
All right, thank you, Madam President. We do have several items on the Executive Director's Report. We've got a flood update. Current numbers indicate a 50% chance of seeing a spring flood reach 31.8 feet. Staff is preparing flooding fighting equipment and making plans in the event we need to employ our flood fighting measures. And a big thing comes down to snow melt timing. The thaw cycle, along with any additional snow or rain from this point on, will be the most important factors contributing to a spring flood risk. Staff will continue to participate with the National Weather Service on spring flood outlook discussions. Next meeting is scheduled for March 23rd. And just on a side note, just hopefully things work out. We did have a dry fall, and with all the snow cover, there's probably minimal frost, I would say, in the ground, Dave. About 2 feet in the ground, which always helps our flood. But as mentioned in the update, it kind of all comes down to, how much, wet snow, moisture, freeze thaw cycle. Typically, you want to get the rivers open, get the water moving, and then have it cool down at night. So. St. Patty's Day Parade update was rescheduled for Saturday, March 18th. The Broadway Square Ice Rink, with the cooler weathers, is still open. Was scheduled to be closed for the season on the 17th, but we're going to keep it open through the St. Patrick's Day Parade downtown. So it'll be open 11 a.m. or the parade is 11 a.m. to 12 noon. We will have skating and concessions at Broadway Square from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. this weekend. Yunker Farm Master Plan update.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
All right, I was just wondering in the past if Parks District has had a float or an entry into the parade.
In the history that I know of the Park District and the St. Patrick's Day Parade, no, we have not had a float in that parade.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Moving on with the Yunker Farm Master Plan. The Master Plan survey closed on March 10th, and the results are being reviewed, and a report will be available next week. Golf update. Golf Pro Shop staff are starting registrations for golf leagues and the new Youth Discover Golf Tournament schedule. IAT update for the Fargo Park Sports Complex. We are taking requests for proposals for networking hardware for the sports complex. The estimated cost is under $120,000, and some of the items that we're looking on bidding out is switching hardware and licenses, firewall to protect all network traffic, UPS networking gear to be backed with uninterruptible power supply. So UPS, uninterruptible power supply units, and then on-site support. So we'll be bidding that out. We'll be advertising bids starting on April 26th. We'll bring it to our May Facility Committee meeting and then award that bid at our June board meeting. One thing, commissioners, I'd like to touch on with the bid opening for the Fargo Park Sports Complex coming up on March 30th. And it takes quite a bit of time to vet those bids, make sure all the bids meet the requirements and they haven't missed anything in there. So we're working with our construction manager, and they've asked for an additional week of time to compile those bids so we get the best numbers, the ad alternates properly. So we would like to move the April 26th Facility Committee meeting to May 3rd. And then along with that, we would like to move the May 9th board meeting to May 16th. One thing, since we have all of our commissioners online, I would just like some discussion and direction from our commissioners. We do have a budget meeting scheduled for May 3rd at 3 p.m. So typically our facilities committee meeting would be at 11 a.m., So I'd like to get some discussion and feedback from our commissioners. Would we like to stack both of those meetings? I think with the bid opening for the sports complex, it's going to be a very interesting meeting, and I would think if not all a lot of the commissioners would attend the facilities committee meeting, and just because there's going to be a lot of discussion around it. So my question is, would we like to stack those two meetings? So we got a couple options on that. We could start the facility committee meeting at 11 a.m. and then continue with the budget meeting immediately after that, approximately 2 hours. So we could go 11 and 1 p.m. Or we could have the facility committee meeting at 1 p.m. and stack the budget meeting after that at 3 p.m. So I would just open that up for discussion on what works for everybody's schedule.
The
I just
second
wanted to
option
ask-
is better for me.
Commissioner Dawson?
The second option is better for me.
So we would start at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m.
But see what everybody else says.
Yep,
I'd like to ask what day of the week that is.
that would be on a Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday. 1 and 3 is fine with me.
What's the specific date again, did you say?
May 3rd, Wednesday, May 3rd.
That's fine with me.
I think Joe's just checking his calendar. So it works for Commissioner Dawson, Commissioner Morgan.
We'll talk. Yep.
Sure. Commissioner Deutsch. Jerry, are you back on?
Yeah, I've been back on. Can you hear me now?
Yep. So what we
Okay.
what we were talking about, Jerry, is moving the April.
Yeah, I heard, as far as I know right now, it works. I haven't looked at my schedule, so.
Okay.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but,
No, that's
I
all
heard the
right.
conversation.
And tentatively, should we say 1 p.m. and 3 p.m.? And we're still a month and a half out, so we could tentatively say that.
Yes.
Yeah, and if Tara could send the information out sooner rather than later, then we could get it on our calendar, or at least I could.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rosted and Commissioner Dawson. All right, and thank you, commissioners in attendance. And my last update would be regarding the 2025 NDRPA State Conference. In working with Shannon Shute at the NDRPA, we have been selected to host that in 2025, and the dates for that would be September 30th through October 2nd. So it's just an FYI, and we'll put together a local organizing committee here at the Park District, and we will, put bids out for hotels and services regarding that for, meeting rooms and everything. And they typically get, I think, an attendance, I think it's getting up to 150, 160 attendees nowadays, so that's pretty good. We typically look for hotel accommodations that can handle 2 to 3 breakout rooms, and then we need exhibit hall space for 30 to 45 vendors. So it's grown quite a bit since the last time it's been in Fargo.
When is the date on that again?
September 30th through October 2nd. And the reason we had to push it so far back in September is the National Recreation and Park Association Conference is scheduled for that typical week we host it, which is right around the 12th to the 14th of September. So. Oh, did I not say that?
You said 2025 though, right?
2025.
2025, yep.
I'll get it in my calendar now.
So, Dave, you never know. So Dave,
Yep.
what does that entail for us? Does the state association cover the expenses of the rooms and breakout rooms and everything else? And what is our job or expense as a host?
So what our job as a local organizing committee is we'll put bids out for hotel services. So we'll go out and find the hotels in the area that can accommodate a conference of this size. And we'll get bids on hotel, what room rates are, what meeting room rates are, what meal plans are, kind of those breakout snack sessions. Our local organizing committee will plan like the opening day events. Typically, it's a golf tournament, then in the past, we've had either a wine walk downtown, a riverboat excursion we've had in the past. Now that River Keepers doesn't have their boat anymore, I don't know if we could do that, but we'll try to find some other options besides golf, because not everybody plays golf. We'll plan a social event on that first night, and then a banquet on the second night. And then we'll work with the NDRPA on, I believe we typically go with 2 keynote speakers and then a host of local and regional speakers. And I believe, the minimum bid or the minimum revenues that we raise that goes back to NDRPA is $10,000, which in the past has not been a problem. So we basically recover our expenses, and then all the net revenues go back to NDRPA.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, sounds like a great idea, and the sports complex will be up and running. I think Joe Deutsch, Commissioner Deutsch, wants to host a kickball event. What do you think?
Sounds like a fun time to me. I'll organize it. I'll get the brackets together right now. I got a few years to.
Yeah, no, it is a good time, and
Bring
it'll
your
be
team.
fun to showcase, some of the new things since the last time they've been in Fargo will be Broadway Square, the sports complex will be open and operating, and of course Island Park Pool, so to mention some of them.
Fantastic. Thank you.
President Morgan, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We have a visitor today. We do have one, an anticipated visitor. And not only that, but he is the CEO of the Visitors Bureau, FM Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we all know Charlie Johnson. And he has entertainment for us.
Oh, entertainment.
You didn't bring your guitar, Charlie?
No, I didn't know that was part of the deal. We can probably help you with that meeting thing, so, just reach out to us. Can help you with the hotels and stuff, so. Thank you, commissioners. It's nice to be here. I appreciate being here. You all know probably that I'm filling in for our Director of Sports, Kaylee Mork, who's basking on a beach somewhere in the Dominican Republic. She actually sent me a picture today to taunt us. I'm not going to show it to you, but it was, it was great. She's having a good time. Anyway, so she helped me prepare for this. I think you all know Kaylee, so it's pretty thorough, right, Stephanie? And Stephanie, by the way, Stephanie Broughton from our staff is here. She's our sports and events manager. I know you all know Stephanie. We work with you guys a lot, so I'm happy to be here. I'm supposed to start with an overview of the CVB. I think you all kind of know what we do, right? So in a nutshell, our job, this is what I usually tell, the general public, which you are not the general public. I usually tell them that our job is to bring visitors of any and all configurations into the community. So obviously visitors, convention and visitors covers 2 of our categories, basically. Visitors, you think of maybe leisure tourists, families, couples, whatever, single travelers, people just looking for a road trip. Maybe they're coming across the state to go to some of the national parks out west of here. But then also, of course, we work with meetings as the one you're going to have, conventions and conferences like that. So the larger, the better, of course. And we're hoping, we struggle in the meetings category because we don't have a true convention center here. Have you ever heard me say this before? Anybody? I bring it up every chance I get, but we think there's light at the end of that tunnel, with the mayor having mentioned at the State of the Cities meeting in January, something we know we've been working on for a long time, and is at the possibility of building a conference center addition to the Fargo Dome along with renovation. So we'll all be learning more about that this summer, and you may actually be asked to vote on it yet before September. So stay tuned for that. That'll help us a lot. But anyway, we have a convention sales staff that works on that sort of thing. They're the ones who would work with you on this, although Stephanie might fight with them over it. I don't know. We'll see what happens, since it's a park district thing. And then, of course, also we have we're a destination marketing organization. So everything we do is related to marketing the community, right? Every single thing we do. But inside our inside that group, we have what we actually designate a marketing department. And they do most of the external, take care of all the external advertising for those leisure tourists. They manage our website. They take care of all of our print materials. So every year they produce our visitor guide, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and our dining guide. The dining guide we update a couple times a year because it's constantly evolving, and the visitor guide we do once a year. They take care of that sort of stuff, but they're not limited just to that. They also work with the convention sales department and the sports department, which is nearer and dearer to all of your hearts, I know. We obviously leaned pretty heavily into sports a few years ago. After when I first started here, it became fairly obvious that we had a better chance to grow sports. There was a hotel building boom at the time when I started, so that was almost 11 years ago now. And we added several hundred hotel rooms the first couple of years I was here, and but nobody was really building any meeting space. So I remember one hotelier in particular came up to me a couple of years in, and he says, "So, how are you going to fill all those hotel rooms?" I said, "Well, nobody's building any meeting space." He says, "Yeah, so how are you going to fill all those hotel rooms?" I'm like, "Thanks." I said, "Well, I think we're going to do it by doubling down on sports." Actually, we had already kind of identified that, so we expanded the sports department. That's how Stephanie got here, and we really. It really went after sports in an even bigger way than we had been already. And of course, that led to even greater partnerships with the Fargo Park districts, which I can tell you about more as we go forward. But you'll see, for some of you who were at our annual meeting last week, you saw the impact that conventions and sports have. I think, if I remember correctly, the direct visitor spending associated with the 100 and some meeting events we touched was about $11 million last year, whereas sports was about 30 million plus, 31 million plus. So that's a pretty big amount of money that comes into the community. And again, I said this at the meeting, but it bears repeating. A lot of people don't realize what a huge part of the local economy, hospitality, tourism, and all kinds of travel are in this community. And of course, everyone here understands that because you are affected by it every day. But the general public, I think, sometimes loses track of the fact that hotel room business in the community by itself, just hotel rooms, Fargo, Morgan, and West Fargo, in 2022 was a $131 million business. And that was about 25% higher than it had ever been before. Let's see, what did Kaylee want me to say about this? Well, we work in tandem with the Park District, as you know, and other local organizations on tournaments that you heard Dave mention the fact that you'll be the local organizing committee for the conference you have coming in. Well, we have the same kind of relationship with local groups that set up local organizing communities. Alex Sumner's here. He knows all about that. Fargo Youth Baseball is basically a big local organizing committee that we work with on a regular basis to help with any things we can do to help them provide services to their tournaments, their baseball tournaments. So it's kind of, Kaylee calls it the triple threat event success. There are three local legs to that. The Park District, of course, for the facility part. We have the local organizing committee to actually operate the tournament, and then it comes to us to support things on what we call the experiential side. You know, Kaylee calls it fluff, but I think it's more than that. But we provide things like bag tags, signage, large form brackets. We help with hotel and event assistance, hotel assistance helping in finding those rooms and meeting spaces for anything that goes on, and then also event assistance, actually in the form of cash in a lot of cases to help out. And so this is true whether it's owned and operated by the local organization or if we're hosting an elite regional or national event that we helped recruit or bid on to bring in here. On our side, the sports team, of course, also travels to conferences. We promote our community to those elite events of different levels. A large number of our premier facilities that could host these events, of course, are owned by you guys, by the Park District, by the people. It's the people's product, and promoted as part of our travels. And we appreciate all the facilities you have. Again, shout out for the North Softball Complex receiving USA Softball's Complex of the Year Award last year. Congratulations on that again. And you see some of the different, the little photos down there at the bottom actually show the one-sheeters we have for various facilities. We're actually in the process of updating those. And guess what? We're going to add one. And that's going to be for what? Oh, yeah, the new sports complex. That'll be great. We'll have a separate one-sheeter. We should probably have 2 sheets for that, I think. Yeah. Well, we'll do both sides. Okay. Again, we work with the Park District and the local organization to help recruit those events, and we appreciate that partnership. In the event a tournament does not need a local affiliate, like USA Pickleball, we serve as a bridge to connect the event owner and the facility and offer whatever help we can for that. Our office meets with all 3 park districts, not just Fargo, but Moorhead and West Fargo as well, bi-monthly. And they discuss 3 items, as you see up there on the screen. We discuss events that might be coming in. We talk about facility and staff updates, so everyone knows what's going on, and whatever specialty topics might come up. There's a lot of idea sharing, I think, that goes on at these meetings. Stephanie, I know you go to some of those, and there's a lot of great discussion back and forth. We really feel like we have a great partnership with all 3 park districts, and I'll repeat that several times while I'm here for you. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We do our annual sports summit, and this is again something we host in conjunction with the look at that lovely picture with the 3. I had to crop that, Tara. We did that. We do this with the 3 park districts, and it's an idea Kaylee came up with a few years ago. Stephanie, have we done it? We missed 2 years at least during the pandemic, but I think we've done it at least 3 or 4 times now. And it's been actually a great boon to us. We invite all of the park districts come and help us host us, but we also invite in all of the local organizing committees. Alex has been there on a pretty regular basis for youth baseball. We get all the hockey, soccer, you name it, any kind of sport. I can't name all the sports, but we usually get over 100 people to show up for that. And we have a little dog and pony show where we tell them remind them about the services we have available, because some of the people who come really, maybe it's their first exposure to us. So we invite them to come in and find out what we can do for them in the way of services like bag tags and things like that, and just helping them produce their event. And it's been a pretty well-received event. I personally, I don't think Kaylee or Stephanie would disagree. I think this has actually helped us grow the number of events we do every year in the community. Frostival, you all know about Frostival. Stephanie, that was her first job when she came here. She was hired to help us produce Frostival. She did a great job. It started in January of, it says here 2016, but I feel like it was 2015. Was it 2016? Okay. You know, when you get old, things that happened like 5 years ago, you think actually happened 10 years ago. Right? Yes, okay. So yeah, okay, 2016. So we did that. First of all, our 3 greatest partners at the beginning and throughout that, again, have been the park districts. Thank you to Fargo Park District as well as Moorhead and West Fargo. We started out, it was just a single weekend. We had a big party downtown, and of course, the Park District was a huge asset in the success of that. They helped us with setup and tear down, snow removal, and nobody said no when we asked for help, so we always appreciated that. Back in 2020, the format switched to offer a longer form Frostival, which offers about 6 weeks of Frostival programming now, and that has remained the format every year going forward, and I feel like it's grown every year. We have more events. You know, a few events will drop off, but we always have more events that come on, so it's gotten to be a bigger and bigger thing, and I think it's fairly gratifying for us as the people who first got this thing going to see that it has taken on a life of its own and lives on without us doing all of the heavy lifting for it, and I appreciate that. And again, this wouldn't have happened without the park districts in all 3 cities. Fargo Park District itself hosts multiple events in support of Frostival, and all sorts of other opportunities for communities to embrace the cold. The cardboard sled race is still here, right? That was the very first Frostival event I went and stood at in a cold wind, and it was fun because everybody loved it, even though it was cold. The fishing derby, the youth pond hockey, all sorts of stuff. So thank you all for that. Okay. Here's the nitty gritty. So this is the portion of the direct spending I talked about at last week's annual meeting that actually we associate with Park District facilities. We had 42 different events that took place in Fargo Park District facilities. We worked with 16 different organizations in that process. More than 95% of them were locally or regionally owned and operated. We had to bid on 4.8% of them, produced about 22,000 plus room nights. We had almost 1,500 teams, total number of teams at those events, and more than, well, close to 21,000 total participants. And that includes teams and individual events as well. Almost 50,000 total attendees when you count the support people that come along, families and spouses and the like. A total of more than 70,000 participants and attendees just at the things that we do with the Fargo Park District. And all of that led to more than $10 million in direct visitor spending here. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. So a third of the direct visitor spending that we can identify came from Park District related events. So thank you for that. So does anybody have questions about any particular topic going forward? I would, before we move on to that, I want to say again how excited we are about the sports complex, because this is all the kind of equivalent to when the Halbert Aquatic Center opened in West Fargo. Equally exciting. That opened up a whole new sport to us. We could barely do swimming events before that. Now we have a world-class facility with 1,100 seats. That's like a huge game changer, and you all know that some USA swimming things are already starting to come here. So the addition, one of the other things we've been missing out on, well, two of them really that you're covering, is the indoor turf, because there's been a real lack of that in the community, except for the rec hall on Main Avenue, which was, dingy. Okay, so we really needed some improvement there. This is really a huge improvement. So that opens up winter soccer activities in there, and then also we have. I hope no one's offended because I said that was dingy. I'm sorry. It's been a lovely and useful place. Sort of like
disagreement.
much like the Civic Auditorium. And so then also, of course, the fact that you're going to have 8 courts in there for either volleyball or basketball. That again opens up an entire new realm of at least two sports for us. Because we really haven't been able to stage a large form basketball or volleyball tournament here by ourselves or with a local organizing committee, because we just didn't have, more than like 4 courts in one place that we could use. We have a couple places in town, colleges that have 6 courts, but it's really hard to make that work because they keep them busy all the time. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, back to the questions.
I was just thinking it might be.
Charlie, this is Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Oh. Go ahead. I don't have a question, just as much as a statement. Quantitative data like this is just awesome. I mean, when you look at the impact that the CVB and working with the Park District brings to the community, I mean, you can't argue the good things that are happening. If you added in the second and third order effects, at $10 million, I don't know what the percentages would be, but it would be that much higher. So this is great information, and I appreciate when we see your data come across, and Dave usually forwards it out. So very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. And again, I always say this, these are updated figures from a study we did a couple of years ago. Well, we did more than a year's worth of study in conjunction with Fargo Dome. We split the cost because they wanted things for their events, which we wanted to know too, but we also wanted some other things that aren't at the Dome. So we took about a year and a half to actually study what you would call economic impact of all these different events. And then following that, it took probably 18 months altogether at least to get to where we are now. But it helped Kaylee and then Mallory on our convention team to develop new formulators, new calculators based on how much spending we now have a much better idea of happens when people come to town. And not just people from out of town, we also get local visitor spending too. So, but still, these figures are conservative. These are not, we're not calling these economic impact figures because that is a whole different equation that we don't want to lay claim to, because it's much more, well, it's just much more. We like to go with what we can see to be direct visitor spending in the community, which we think is a much more conservative number than economic impact. We never want to get caught out having predicted we're going to do $40 million for a tournament and have to come back and say, well, gee, it was only 25. And then people think, well, 25, that's not very much. Well, in fact, it's a lot. So we'd rather be conservative on that. Aaron?
No, I was just going to ask, or for those who don't know, how can you explain how you guys are funded? Where does your funding come from?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we are funded almost entirely by the 3% lodging tax in all three cities. So we're kind of unique. It's not so much unique that we have two cities or three cities. There are lots of CVBs like that, but we also have a foot in each state. So it's kind of a unique arrangement. It works great. We have a great arrangement with all three cities. They collect the lodging tax for us, and we have no complaints about them. They are great. They don't take an admin fee out of it. We get the whole 3%, and they aggregate it and then pay it to us. So that's the largest part of our funding. We have another relatively large line item in our budget, and that's our housing bureau, which has gone up over $300,000 a year now. But that is almost entirely money in and money out. This is a housing bureau that we do for local tournaments. Could also work for conventions, but hardly gets used for that yet. Someday it will be, perhaps. But we do now more than 40 events. How many did we do last year, Stephanie? 42, 44? Yeah. We added, we had to add another person in order to not have to limit the number of events we could do. We did limit it for 1 year, and then we added another person. So we have 1.5 people basically working in our housing bureau, and that does two things for us: keeps us really busy and connected to the hotels, but it also allows us to for all the events we do with that, we know exactly how many rooms there were and how many people came. So that helps us make sure these figures are way more accurate than before. So yes, but that's it. We sell some advertising. We're expanding the advertising offerings a little bit on our website and in our visitor guide. We've just really started doing that, so we expect that to grow a little bit over the next couple of years, maybe to 150, maybe as much as $250,000 in a couple of years. It takes a while to grow that up. And it's not something we depend on, but we feel it's good to diversify our income a little bit that way. So yeah, that's it mostly for us, financially speaking. And it's, obviously during the pandemic, in the year of 2020, everybody's revenue in hospitality fell somewhere in the 40% range, including ours. Fortunately, the people who came before me and the rest of our staff were very careful, and we had good reserves, and we did not have to. We didn't have any trouble. In fact, we were able to give grants away to hotels and to local attractions to help them during the pandemic. So that was helpful, and we came through it flying colors. Our reserves dipped a little bit, but now they've come right back up. So we're in pretty good shape. And I think you all know about the capital grants we give, obviously, since we have a big commitment out to the sports complex of $1.25 million. I think we've already paid $250,000 on that. Initially, when we said $1 million, we were going to try to do it in 8 years. We added another $250,000. The board and I believe we should at least try to still pay the whole thing off in 8 years, maybe a little more depending on a little less depending on how things go. But our plan is to at least pay it off in 8 years. So we'll have a couple of years at least with double payments in there, since we have the funds in our reserve, barring any kind of further catastrophes, bank failures.
Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie, this is Jerry. You touched
Yeah.
on this last week, but maybe for the people that weren't at your meeting, talk about where the CVB is at in terms of the rebound from COVID. Sounds like you're back up pretty much even better than maybe 2019.
Absolutely. In fact, actually, 2021, by the time it was over, the rebound started in June of 2021, really. We started to come back, and I will tell you that in 2020, the only reason that we only lost 40% was the fact that we had sports that happened, especially in the summer. Thanks, Alex Sumner. Alex, I think, put on the first tournament, the first post-pandemic tournament, and he went through all the hoops and he had all the stuff there. So thank you, Alex, for that. And those summer events, including some hockey that happened very carefully, actually helped us come back. Even in that lousy year, we still had got occupancy back into the 35 to 45% range, which was pretty darn good for coming out of the pandemic at that moment. And we still had all of those restrictions. Again, though, we ended the year down 40%. But 2021, the first few months kind of started the way 2020 ended. But starting late May and in early June, things just kind of jumped. I think there was a lot of pent-up demand. Sports events started coming back again. We had some sporting events. We had hockey during the winter. There were smaller events. Youth hockey couldn't bring any Canadians in. They had fewer teams for those couple of years. But then that summer, things just started to jump. All the summer sports activities not only came back full tilt, but I think we also added a few. Alex, you added a few. We had some summer hockey tournaments that came in. And then also there was just this hive of activity around the community, especially downtown, I think, where people wanted to get out. There was lots of live music, there were outdoor events, and people just got into it. So starting in June and all the way through December, things really were better than they had been in 2019. In fact, they were so much better in those last 6 months of 2021 that we actually ended 2021 calendar year with slightly better occupancy and slightly better revenue than we had in 2019. So that was shocking to all of us. And then it just kept growing. And I told everybody, don't expect this to continue. It did continue. In fact, it only got better. So, and as I mentioned at the annual meeting, the 25% increase in revenue from 21 to 22, which also was 25% better than the previous record, which was 2015 or 14. A little, maybe half of that you could chalk up to inflation, but the average daily rate was higher. The demand was about 10% higher. So there was just actual real growth in the community on the hospitality side. So then that's not, we're just trying to keep up. That's all of you, that's all of our partners doing things that bring people into the community.
Just a
Thank you.
couple questions. You had mentioned earlier that you had begun at a time when there was a lot of hotel construction.
Mhm.
And second question, which you can answer first if you'd like, how does the lodging tax compare between Fargo and Moorhead, percentage rates?
It's the same. It's the same.
So
It's
the-
3%, and each city is 3%.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
see. So that you're the one that sets that? I thought it was something that was set by,
The
States.
states set it, and then the cities implement it.
all right,
So,
I'm
yeah.
surprised it's the same in both states.
Yeah, it is. It is. There is discussion about raising the lodging tax in Fargo as part of the financing package for the dome and conference space, so you'll hear more about that. I thought you were going to ask me how we compared to other cities. And across North Dakota, it's 3% everywhere. But if you travel, as I know you all do, you travel around the country, you're going to find that occupancy taxes are significantly higher in a lot of places than they are here. So
Yeah.
our message to the hotels is what you get for additional lodging tax is going to be well worth it. And we think it won't have any kind of negative impact if we increase it by 2, 3, or even 4 cents to who comes here. Because we all travel and we know that a lot of places it's 10%. You'll get a 7% lodging tax, and oh wait, there's a resort fee. Okay, and the resort fee is like $3 per room night, and then there'll be a county tax, and then there'll be a city tax. It gets up to like 15 to 18% on a hotel room, whereas right now we're 10.5, and we'll be at 11 now in Moorhead and West Fargo because they've added a half cent to their sales tax. So it's not much compared to what others do. But yes, it's 3% in both states, set by the states. The dichotomy between Fargo and Moorhead that we experience is that in Fargo, on the North Dakota side, it was established as 2% initially, and then they added a 3% in the same statute that would allow for food and beverage tax as well, and a car rental tax, neither of which we have yet. But they said that third percentage should be primarily designated for capital improvements. And we took that to heart. Cole Carley, my predecessor, took that to heart. First of all, they implemented it and used it to build our building. That was the first expenditure with those capital funds. But then once that happened, that was paid for relatively quickly. And then we built it up as a fund and started giving it out as capital grants, Destination Development Fund, as we like to call it now, around Moorhead. The Minnesota side, the 3% just goes to us and we can do whatever we want with it.
I guess the other question I had was, do you in any way promote that lodging incentive? For instance, I mean, for instance, in Moorhead now, with the redevelopment of supposedly downtown and the rest of the
Mhm.
city, they're anticipating that they'd like to have their own hotels over there or more of them.
Yeah.
And so do you have any kind of an action that you take to encourage that sort of thing because of your own bottom line?
Oh, sure, we support that kind of development. Hotel development, we kind of have to walk, because, like, as I mentioned, for a while, we were a little overbuilt. And so people would ask me, do we need some more hotels? And I'd be like, yeah, we could always use a new hotel, but it's like, I don't, uh, now we're at the point where we could use a couple, I'd like to be able to say where they go, but of course I don't get to say that. But yes, we will encourage that development. We'd love to see a hotel in downtown Moorhead. Man, I know that someone has, and we learned also at State of the Cities that Kevin Bartram purchased the old FM hotel building. It'll always be the FM hotel building to me. It's the US Bank building. He's got most of that now. I would love that to be repurposed into a boutique hotel. I don't know if they can bring the treetop room back, but that would be wonderful too, But I think
they're
that would be a
talking about
boon.
it.
Huh?
They're talking about it. I've heard it from more than one
Well,
source.
I'm sure everyone is talking about it. He's the one that'll have to do it, but that would be wonderful for downtown Moorhead, especially with the new development that's going to happen down there. There's going to be a community center and a new library there that'll be interactive. It's going to be great. There'll be a lot of new development around there where the center mall is now. So I think that's a great thing for them. Those of you at our annual meeting saw the great thing that he did with the Armory. That's a great space. And the building where Swing Barrel Brewing is. They have lots of good things happening in Moorhead too. And my ultimate view is that it's one downtown, right? You just walk from one to the other. I'm getting off the field here, but I can't wait to see how the Mid-America Steel site is developed, because I've always felt that was the key to tying the two downtowns together. You've got that on what is NP/Center Avenue, right? So let's say they build a big mixed-use thing, and you've got some beautiful condos up there overlooking the river, and Dave, you live in one, and you come down on a summer evening after work, and you're thinking, I gotta go get a bite to eat, and you're gonna walk out of that place right onto NP Avenue, and you're gonna look to your right, and that old FM hotel building is about exactly as far away from you walking wise as Broadway is. And if there's something to go over there for, you're gonna be able to make a choice. And then ultimately, before we build a bridge, from City Hall down to the river, we need a walking bridge from Viking Ship Park over into the green space on the Fargo side. Then you've got a loop that people can walk when the weather is nice, and I think that's going to be the key. Ultimate, long after I'm gone, that will happen.
Listen.
But it's starting now, I think.
Let's make it happen fast.
I'm all for that, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get the convention space built, because that will lead to more people coming to town. We guarantee you, we have lists of things that we have missed out on or can't even bid on because we don't have any place for them. We can't host the North Dakota Association of Counties, for crying out loud, because we don't really have a space for them. We could put them in the Fargo Dome, but it's not ideal. And plus, oh wait, it's busy almost every weekend. So that's great, but it doesn't give us many options for that sort of thing. So that will be a wonderful plus for us. That'll increase business. And then, and I know this is the Park District, but I hope you all will consider down the road when it happens, plans for a performing arts center in downtown Fargo, which will also be a gem. That will be in downtown where the Civic Auditorium is now, and that's going to be a game changer for the arts community, but also for all of downtown Fargo and downtown Moorhead, because it'll all be walkable, right? So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I just want to commend you. You kind of glazed over in the beginning. Oh, I came on, we decided to focus on sports and away we went. But I got to commend you because, I grew up here in town too, right? And, I would go to the YMCA and play one game at noon on a Saturday, basketball, and then we'd go over to the KC Club and have burgers and,
Yeah.
and that was our weekend. And then we went to church on Sunday or whatever. And that's not the
Good.
way, that's not the way of the world anymore. The middle class, upper middle class people are, especially at the younger ages, no matter how good athlete their kids are, they're playing travel sports, they're staying in hotels,
Yeah.
they're socializing with their friends. They used to say, well, it's all so Billy can get this scholarship, and now nobody's even covering for that anymore. It's like, we enjoy every minute of this. So it's
Absolutely.
okay. There's nothing wrong with this. And Billy's enjoying playing his basketball in second grade, and I'm enjoying staying with my friends in a hotel. So, so be it. And so, like you said, you can completely leave our community and not even go out to dinner at home over the weekend, or you can stay here and other people can come here and we can sell hotel rooms. We can, get people to go to the shopping mall. We can have restaurants completely sold out. And so you recognize that trend before it really blew up. And now I sincerely believe you, and we're extremely excited to work with you at the sports complex, because now, like you said, when we got volleyball standards that just on a conveyor belt come out of the ceiling and then hit the button and
That's
they go
cool.
back up into the ceiling again. You don't have, it's amazing. You can play a basketball game on that court and play a volleyball game on it 5 minutes later, just dropping the standards right out of the ceiling on a pulley system. So
Automation.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be, and like Cherry said, it's fun and great to see hard numbers, because people can say something's one way, somebody can say something's another, but you can't argue with hard numbers.
That's right. I appreciate that. Thank you. We think hard numbers are important, and that's how we aim to sell the need for things like sporting facilities, which obviously everyone can see, and also meeting space. I mean, we could, with a convention space in 5 years, I bet we can nearly double what we're doing now as far as the meetings industry goes. I think that's a bold statement. I've never made it before anywhere. So just forget I said that. Don't tell Mallory. Don't tell Mallory I said that.
Hey, Charlie, do you
There
remember
might be an opportunity. There might be an opportunity to leverage what the sports complex does to the city to help with the meeting facilities and some of the other things that we still need, because I think if we can demonstrate the success of that, we can parlay that into other successes in the community. So let's keep that in our back pocket.
Absolutely. Well, we've thought of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you remember the quote at the end of the annual meeting, the,
More aghast?
yeah,
Let's see. Do I remember it? This is a test.
yeah.
If you
It's-
build a community if you build a place people want to visit, you'll build a place that people want to live. If you build a place where people want to live, you'll build a place where business has to be. If you build a place where business has to be, you'll build a place where people have to visit. And I think there's one more stretch on it. But the ultimate thing is it always starts with a visit. And that's so vitally important now. Everyone in our industry knew she was right 15 years ago, but now the economic development people and the state commerce people in all of our states have finally figured out that, oh yeah, there is a connection here.
Mhm.
And that if you're promoting the city for visitors, you're also promoting it to people who might want to live here. It's
Right.
the same thing we're promoting. We promote your softball complex and your sports complex to bring visitors to town as parts of teams taking part in tournaments, right? But then they get to see what it's like, and they also know that you have all sorts of local league activities going on all those places. They think, hey, I could get into this. This is a great place to be. So it all comes together. It's all about that, what they call livability factor,
Yeah.
lifestyle.
And that was where I was headed with that we have the same challenges at the park district, right? Is tourism, it's similar where we don't, maybe have mountains and lakes and the weather can be challenging, right? So we have to focus on convention centers and sports and other things, or do what we can with what we have, but in order to sort of bring the visitors here, and then while they're here, they get to experience one of our golf courses or one of the amenities that, the Island Park pool.
And
they
we
get
don't
to,
not sell that stuff,
Right.
I mean, we talk, especially about to casual visitors, like Mallory and I do a lot of work with our international marketing efforts, which we do in a 5-state consortium. You know, people who visit here from other countries, first of all, they're not just going to come here, they're going to take a road trip, right? So, but you want them to come here and spend a couple nights. And we definitely pitch amenities like the river. We pitch the river to them. We show them that you can canoe on that river and it's like you're out in the wilderness, right? Even though you're right between the two downtowns. And then we also say we have miles and miles and miles of bicycle trails along the river and beyond. And then we also have great golf courses because a lot of them like to golf. We don't not sell the outdoors here. But you're right, we don't have mountains, so we approach it from a slightly different angle.
More creative.
Yeah. There are things to do here. People like it here. And when we bring sporting events, but also when we pitch conferences, we tell people, you know, you might not think of coming here for a meeting or a conference, especially when doing like national trade shows. But we guarantee you, A, we will do everything we can to make it easy for you. And B, we will also guarantee that you will have fun here no matter what. And you will not believe how much fun you will have because it's a great city to visit and there's a lot to do. So I'm preaching to the choir now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Charlie.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Charlie.
Thanks,
You bet.
Charlie.
Thanks for inviting us and thanks for your partnership. We appreciate it.
Love your
Thanks,
passion.
Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Unless someone has something else. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you know, we've had a lot of outside groups, as Charlie did with CVB, come and speak and explain what they do, and it's a great chance to learn about them. Next month, we'll start our kind of department series at our board meetings with our golf pros, right? Professionals. So they'll be here at our April meeting. So just wanted to let you know. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Are we gonna get a sneak preview of their entertaining commercials that are gonna be coming out here soon? Huh?
The Muni Misfits.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye. See y'all. Have a good night.